we have finally made it to this incredible place right behind me. This is Laguna Humantay, one of the most beautiful lakes in all of Peru. It is currently 4:30 in the morning here in Cusco, and it is currently only 7 degrees. And I, like the random crazy person I am, when the entire city is sleeping, am up once again at a ridiculous hour because we are going on a day trip. And this is supposed to be one of the most amazing places in the world. I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired, but it's supposed to be worth it. I hope it's worth it. So let's go ahead and head down to the bus station and let's go on our way to perhaps one of the most beautiful places in the world. Let's do it. Well, after a quick 2.5 hour ride, we have finally made it to the beautiful, cute little town of 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐈𝐿. This is a small little town, and this is sort of the town off of which you jump to the beautiful Lake Humantay, which is our goal for today. I have to say, the bus was not too bad. 2.5 hours, it was quite fast. I fell asleep, and before I knew it, I was here in 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐈𝐿, so quite nice indeed. We need to now figure out how to get to the lake because it's still actually a few more kilometers down, and then from there it's another 1.5 hour hike. So let's try and figure that out first, and then we can come back later and explore this beautiful town. It's very, very cute. We're currently in like the main plaza area. There's like an old church, I think that's over there, but this is quite an easy ride so far, so let's see how it goes from here. The bus driver just told me that there is another colectivo, or like a sort of shared bus that comes right around here, and that's supposed to pick us up and take us to the lake. However, I have no idea what time it comes, when it comes, and where it is exactly going to come. So we're just going to have to wait it out and see. I know people usually get breakfast at this time because it's cold and it's nice to have some warm soup. But I'm not really hungry. I'm just not hungry, so we're gonna have to pass on that. Alright, I think we figured it out. We've got a colectivo and we are sharing it, so we're gonna get on. And we've only have one-way ticket, so let's see how we get back. Well, before we actually get to the lake, we have to stop at a little checkpoint right here. They actually need your passport number and information like that so that you can get this ticket right here, which gives you access actually not just to the lake, but also to 𝐒𝐈𝐻𝐻𝐈𝐿 and sort of the surrounding area as well. Fee is about 20 soles, so that's not too bad, but it is a little bit of a little checkpoint that you have to go through before you can continue onwards. But now that we've got our tickets, we can go ahead and move on. Well, at last we have made it. The town here is actually called Soraypampa. That is the stop, and you can see there's like so many vehicles parked behind me. That's because a lot of the tour groups, a lot of the taxis, they all actually park here. So hopefully we'll be able to get a ride back to 𝐒𝐈𝐻𝐻𝐈𝐿, I think the name of the town is called. But the view, this view is incredible. You can literally see the mountain right up ahead of me. It is incredible. I mean, look at that. You can see that mountain. And this is called the Nevado de Humantay. It's the name. It's a snow-capped mountain, and the lake below it is where we're heading to right now. The hike is supposed to be about 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, so hopefully we'll be able to complete it within an hour or an hour and a half. But the altitude, that's what's really gonna give me some trouble here. But let's go ahead, We're gonna keep going, and hopefully before we know it, we'll be there. It doesn't look too far. You can see the mountain already, so we're getting pretty close. But now we just gotta keep going. We are now just getting our first glimpse of the crystal clear glacial water from the Andes. Look at this. So we have to cross the stream, which is very interesting. And also, that's great that they've built this entire bridge. So if it is too high, if it floods over this little wooden plank here, then, well, you've got another bridge you can cross, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But this water, look at how clear that water is. That is incredible. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down. I just want to touch the water and see how cold it is. Is it cold glacial water? Let's see. Oh, that is cold. That is a very, very cold glacial water, fresh from the Andes. Wow, that is incredible. Let's go ahead. We're gonna cross the bridge now. Oh, this is it's actually quite stable. Not too bad at all. But it is a nice little wooden bridge that sort of slants near the end. And we're on the other side, and we're on our way down to the lake. Now, we're starting the real ascent up. The lake is just right up there, so we're now making our way up. If you see around me, there's a lot of little horses, and they're very, very cute horses. And the reason there's so many is that if you want, you can pay extra for the horses to take you up to the lake, so you don't have to walk it yourself. But I think the prices are somewhere around like 40 to 50 USD both ways, so it's a bit pricey. But these horses, they're so cute, and they're just sort of roaming around, enjoying the view. I mean, if I was a horse, I definitely enjoy the view. I mean, look at those mountains right behind me. That is incredible. But so if you cannot walk, or once you get here, you're super tired or out of breath because of the altitude, which is a serious problem, go ahead, rent out a horse and you can take it all the way up to the lake, and you don't even need to walk an additional step further. All right, well, we are halfway. But it's already been about a full hour and a half of hiking. They said the hike was only supposed to take 2 hours. Pretty sure it's gonna take me 3. When we're getting closer, you can see the mountain is right behind me, right over there. And we still have to climb over that hill. Still got a long way, but we're slowly, steadily making our way. The big problem here isn't that it's actually that steep, it's not actually that hard. The problem is that we're at an elevation of over 4,000 meters above sea level. So there's less oxygen, it's harder to breathe, it's harder to hike. You really need to adjust for at least a week before you try and do this trek, because it is very difficult. You'll run out of breath very quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and get back on it. Well, after 2.5 hours, which was supposed to only be an hour and a half, is what the bus driver told me, is what I've read online. I guess I'm just so out of shape and I cannot deal with the altitude. It took me 2.5 hours. We have finally made it to this incredible place right behind me. This is Laguna Humantay, one of the most beautiful lakes in all of Peru. Now, there are a lot of rules surrounding Laguna Humantay. First off, you're not allowed to swim. And to be fair, I wouldn't want to swim anyways, because the water is probably icy cold and you are at an altitude of over 4,000 meters above sea level. So it's cold, you know? Now, I will say right now, I'm actually quite warm because the sun is just coming out right now and it's like shining on me. It's amazing. It's incredible. I'm so glad that the sun is out. But it probably isn't a good idea to go in and take a dip anyways. But regardless, because nobody is allowed to swim in the water and nobody's allowed to swim in the lagoon, it is very, very clean. It is absolutely clear. Once you get near the side of the lagoon, you realize how crystal clear the water is. It is blue beyond belief. It is saturation times 100%. It is incredible. Now, what surprised me most is that there's actually a lot of people here. There's at least, I would say, at least 300 people around this lake. Now, for a place in Peru where I would say it's pretty hard to get to, that's surprising. But I also think a lot of people, they do the 𝐒𝐂𝐑𝐈𝐍𝐊 trek to Machu Picchu, and this is their starting point. This is where they start with their visit. So that's why so many people are here. But regardless, this is a beautiful place. Luckily, we get some time here, we get to enjoy, but wow, this is truly a magical place. It's like something out of a fairy tale, something out of a movie, because it is just so incredibly beautiful. Look at the color of that water. That is some of the bluest water you're ever going to see in the world. And actually, I was listening to a guide, and she was explaining that there are 3 factors that make the water so blue. So first, there are minerals inside the water that make it so blue. Second, there are sort of microorganisms that, the third factor, the sun, when the sun shines, not only does it make the water blue, but it also means that the microorganisms start doing something chemical. I don't know what it is, but it makes the water even bluer than it is usually. So if the sun were to go away, actually, this lake would still be blue, but it just wouldn't be as blue as it is right now. Now, this place, like I said, we're at over 4,000 meters in altitude. And it's very, very hard to breathe and adjust unless you've been in this sort of environment for a while. So if you're thinking of coming to Lake Humantay, I highly recommend it, except make sure you're well adjusted, because this is a very, very difficult trek. And if anything, this sort of lake reminds me of one that I visited in Slovakia. If you see in my Slovakia series, which was in the high Tetris Mountains. And that trek took much longer. It took almost 5-6 hours. But the problem is the elevation wasn't as high as it is right now. Here, the whole trek has just been very, very high in terms of altitude, and it hasn't even been as steep as the one in Slovakia, but I found it much more difficult to do it simply because here the altitude is much higher, you have less oxygen, and you can't breathe as easily. But nonetheless, this place is stunning. Actually, right behind these mountains, you eventually actually get to Machu Picchu. So we're not that far away from Machu Picchu. This area is, you know, within the Andes. It's full of these high rising mountains that sort of, wow, I mean, just imagine being here thousands of years ago and seeing these for yourself. But whoever explored this place and whoever found this place, what an incredible job. I don't know if you can see, but we have to go all the way down to those huts there and then back through the valley. And that's all walking before we take a car back to 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐿. I have no clue how I'm gonna do it because I am so exhausted, but you know what? Downhill should be easier. That's what I tell myself all the time. Downhill is gonna be easier, so let's go ahead and do this. Well, I think we worked it out. This van is going to take me to 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐿, and from there I'll take another colectivo back to Cusco. Very fortunate we found a guy who's willing, who's part of the tour. He's going to take the tour back and they have an extra seat, so might as well join them. But before we know it, hopefully we'll be back in 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐿. Well, I have some incredible news. We've actually made it down to 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐿. The tour groups, they're all eating lunch here. But we're gonna try and rush back to Cusco as soon as we can. I want to try and see if we can get there soon, because from what I heard, that the roads are being repaired between Cusco and 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐿, which means that if you miss it, they'll close the road and you're not able to get back to Cusco. So hopefully we'll be able to avoid that situation and get back soon. But anyways, since we're already back in 𝐒𝐈𝐍𝐻𝐿, I think I'm going to end the video here. I think that's going to be it for this video. It's been a long video, it's been a tiring video, but definitely worth the visit. So when you're here in Peru, I would say Laguna Humantay is definitely worth the visit. I would say the only thing to keep in mind is just make sure that you've sort of acclimatized to the elevation here first before you go to the lake, or else it's going to be very difficult. The hike up is going to be really hard. Now you can do it two ways. You can either do it my way, which is the way of sort of coming on my own, right, with the buses, or you can take a tour but tours cost a little bit more. And when I mean a little, I mean a lot more. Like, it's probably at least triple, quadruple the price. Today so far I've only spent about 90 soles, but a tour will probably cost you around 200 soles. So there is quite a difference there, but the tours also include lunch, they include transport to and from your hostel or accommodation. So there is a sort of balance there, there's a trade-off, but nonetheless, you can always find your way here to Laguna Humantay. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up here in the Andes Mountains of Peru. I will end this video here, and it is a beautiful way to end this video. I mean, look at the view behind me, that is incredible. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys will subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.